South Africa has made strides in increasing access to higher education. This can be attributed to efforts by government, business and civil society. Students from historically marginalized backgrounds are enrolling in universities more than ever before. Despite this, graduation rates are still low, with only 29.9% of students who started university in 2016 completing their degrees within the required minimum 3 years.
What we see throughout our experience is that while there's been an increase, I think between 2002 up until 2024, there's been about 60% increase of enrollment of students in higher education. However, completion rate, are not necessarily matching the number of students who are actually entering the higher education space.
So most individuals in this country and even around the world may look at the situation in South Africa, especially or in terms of tertiary education and any type of education after high school. And they may look at the work that NSFAS has been doing and credit it, thinking that it's been doing a good job. And I mean, of course, you could say this. They've allowed a lot of individuals in South Africa to pursue a higher education and to better their lives. But the way I think of it, this may have been the case a few years ago, because I mean, if you look at the rate or the numbers of the individuals that actually go on to go to varsity or college, it's increased, right? So you could say that okay, NSFAS has allowed this to happen and it has done a great job, you know what I'm saying? But judging by the recent rate or the recent news updates we've been getting from ENCA and SABC and all these things, it doesn't equal the amount of individuals that end up going on to graduate or to graduate in time. And that's something I really want to talk about, because I find it really interesting, and I think it's just another psyop as well. You'll understand what I'm trying to say. There's a news update as to a concerning drop in the rate of graduation in South Africa, and this will obviously lead me to saying something about how the youth is being targeted in real time. But it's usually the youth who's expected to go on to university as they finish high school, or a few years after they finish high school, stuff like that. So that's where I'm coming from. If you really think about the traditional reasons, should I say traditional reasons as to why there's a graduation drop, especially in our colleges and tertiary education, come across what I already talked about, what NSFAS has allowed in South Africa, widened access to tertiary education. But we cannot, we have to admit that there's a high proportion of inequality, especially when it comes to this type of stuff. If you think about the transition people have to go to, especially from primary to high school. If I think of my own transition from going to from a public sort of lower class primary school to going to a public but higher quartile high school, you tend to understand that the level of education doesn't allow for a proper or a smoother transition because of the unequal resources, the unequal levels of education and teaching standards. A lot of people don't make the transition well, and in my case, bro, it led to me sort of literally like failing my classes or like struggling to keep up with the demands, you know what I'm talking about. And I believe this is the same with high schools. There's lower level, lower class high schools, and on the students that do well, necessarily do well in the school, necessarily don't do well, but then end up going to university and struggling. And I would imagine they also struggle with this type of transition. I mean, someone may look at it and think, okay, there's a sense of inequality in terms of the education that most people come from and the backgrounds and stuff like that. Some people may look at it as a lack of foundation. A lack of foundation. A lot of people going to university, the lack of foundation, proper foundation, especially when you're dealing with your STEM subject, your serious subjects, maths, physics, chemistry, and life sciences. And this is just the way I'm thinking. You know what I'm talking about. This may be widely recognized, but this is just the way I'm thinking. And NSFAS is not everything. NSFAS is not everything. Why? Because, okay, how many stories have we heard of individuals that did get funding, you know what I'm saying, but haven't got the pocket money or whatever for months, you know what I'm talking about, having to resort to or to even drop out, you know what I'm saying? NSFAS is not everything. Yeah, NSFAS may give you access to university, may pay your school fees, let's say, for example. I'm not in university, so I don't get how it happens and the process and shit, you know what I'm talking about, but it may do this and this for you, but like, if you can't keep like providing you the necessities, then how are you going to keep up, you know what I'm talking about? I think this is another contributing factor. The way I've seen it and the way I be looking at these people at uni and the way these people be living at uni, bro, it's almost as if uni is not built for poor people, bro. I'm not, like, uni is not like, I may be wrong, right? I may be wrong. There's individuals that is poor, from poor backgrounds, and who actually finish and get their lives together, you know what I'm talking about. But I feel like uni is just not built for people who can't keep up with that lifestyle, you know what I'm talking about. It's the reason why people will be dropping out at the end of the day once they feel like their needs are not being met, you know what I'm talking about. But I just feel like at the end of the day, if you know who I am, you will know that there's more to what I'm saying, bro. There's more to what I'm saying, and y'all know that I'm about to say some whole lot of bullshit right now, bro. There was once an incident where an ineligible student was getting in NSFAS. So if I was to put in my words, there was an incident in the past, and I would be surprised if it's not happening today. I know I would be surprised if it's still not happening today. But there's an incident where ineligible students was getting NSFAS. In other words, there was an incident where rich kids were still getting NSFAS. You know what I'm talking
The
about.
Special Investigating Unit has uncovered over 5 billion rand in fraudulent student loan claims from the National Student Financial Aid Scheme, NSFAS. It seems these students misrepresented their financial struggles to unfairly claim the money. The SIU now vowing to get every cent of that amount back from the estimated 4,000 students who, it seems, have been ripping off NSFAS since 2017.
What does that mean? If you were to come to me with that statement, I'll come to the conclusion of Uti. There's kids who deserve NSFAS, who are eligible for that privilege. These kids were intentionally sidelined in order for these big people to feed their own kids. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, yeah, I understand, referring to uni students as kids is dumb, because like it's not only people your age was there, it's individuals who are older, much older than you. Yeah, I get it, right? But like if you think of the way South Africa is working now, if you think of our government and these big people and how they be stealing this money, Cat Banban, you know what I'm talking about. If you think of how everything is operating, how South Africa is really getting fucked in real time, I wouldn't be surprised if these government people would be pulling strings intentionally within NSFAS to sideline some students in order for them to fill their pockets. Now in NSFAS, it comes as like this mediator, like this savior, as to we're gonna give you access to uni, we're gonna help you do this and that. Yeah, I get it, but like I feel like it's just it's almost like how South Africa has developed this thing, or this psyop, or this agenda, or this mentality of democracy, and that everybody has the right to vote, as if voting makes a difference. It's like this psyop that South Africa's come with. So I would imagine that in NSFAS is almost like they make it seem as if they're saving you, you know what I'm talking about, but the reality is that even they can't afford to keep you there. You know what I'm saying? I may be wrong, but it's just the way I see it. If you think about how long it would take for the department, the Department of Basic Education, if you think of how long it would take the DBE to phase something into the curriculum, if you think of how long it would take, then it makes you wonder if university and the university curriculum and the syllabus and whatever is keeping up to this evolving world. I mean, this world is evolving day in, day out. Every day there's something new. AI is doing something new every single fucking day. There's new jobs that is rising. There's new skills that is required. Is university keeping up with these? So, like, I don't know, but I feel like we're just avoiding the fact that the reason why most graduates is going to uni and coming out and failing and failing to get a job isn't. I feel like it's deeper than just not having connections. It's deeper than, okay, maybe you have to get a postgraduate degree. I feel like it's the lack of skills, bro. University isn't teaching things that is going to help you now. It's teaching things that would have helped you 10 years ago. The curriculum is outdated, bro. This doesn't require anybody to fucking do their research and to study the history or anything, bro. It's basic knowledge. If you think about DBE and how long it would take for them to phase, let's say, IT into a school, then you have to imagine how long it would take a university to switch up the curriculum of every single program to match the demands of the world we're living in today. And the only difference between a graduate and me is that when they graduate, you spend 3-4 years studying something useful, but we're still at home together. You're unemployed. You did this, I did YouTube. You studied, yeah, you're gonna get a job. I just did YouTube. But I feel like the difference doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, we're still unemployed. We're still sitting at home together. It's almost as if you wasted your time. Yeah, there's maybe the skills that you learned, time management, reading, research, okay, whatever. But at the end of the day, I feel like I said what I said.